what is the next thing you want to know?
So if you had to start from scratch, how would you get your newsletter to 10,000 subscribers in the shortest amount of time? And it could be like multiple strategies or one main one, whether you use paid or organic or both. Like maybe if you like narrowed it down to maybe kind of three main for the sake of not going too overboard.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. And this is obviously a great question and one that a lot of people, I think, are curious about and trying to figure it out. And the truth is, as you know, there's a million different variables here.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I'm going to sort of start with deconstructing the question a bit and then loop around. But so the first thing I would say is that in the vast majority of cases, I think people get hung up on subscriber number. And I actually don't think subscriber number is a great goal in general. So I hear from lots of people, how do I get to 1,000 subscribers? How do I get to 10,000? How do I get to 50,000? And I think it's really important to think about why those numbers and how those numbers align with ultimately what you're trying to do. Because there is a world in which, okay, I need 10,000 subscribers because X, Y, and Z. I'm not saying that those are meaningless numbers, but I think the first thing I would do is actually, take a step back and go, well, why do I need 10,000? Right? In terms of, because what is my goal ultimately, right? Am I trying to get clients? Am I trying to sell a product? Am I trying to monetize the newsletter through ads? Like, what am I trying to do? And what I think most people will find in most cases is that they don't actually need as many subscribers as they think they need to accomplish what they want to accomplish. And the obvious version of that is certainly in a services business. And, I don't need 10,000 subscribers if I'm only trying to get 20 clients.
Yeah, sure.
I need the right subscribers and that kind of thing. But I think also what gets overlooked is even if you're going down a sort of advertising monetization route or that kind of thing, the assumption that you need 10,000 subscribers, well, it depends what the niche is. It depends what the advertisers are. It depends how valuable the people you're trying to reach are. So even that, I think a lot of times people assume they need mass volume for a sort of advertising business. And I actually think their analysis on both sides is wrong. So I think sometimes people, depending on their niche, they think they need a lot more subscribers than they do to monetize, even through ads. And then I think sometimes when they go broad, they actually don't think they're like, oh, if I just get to 10,000, well, depending what market you're in, you might need 100,000.
Yeah, sure.
Or you might need 500 or 1,000 so it's very dependent. And I think that's the first thing that I would sort of think through. That said, if I did need 10,000 subscribers, I would consider, and I'm sort of coming at this as if maybe I'm not quite sure what my niche is, or I'm sort of thinking it through, but for whatever reason, I have this thing, right? So I would think through, how I consider the target audience. How big is it really? How hard is it? I have a client whose business, and I help them with a business newsletter in their industry. Their industry is pretty small, right? So one of the first conversations we had was, it's very small and very specific. And I said, look, how many people are actually in this industry total? And they're like, maybe 6,000, 7,000 people. So if they get 2,500, that's massive. I mean, they have half their industry on their newsletter. So it's like, so that sort of perspective. So understanding what is the target audience? How big is it? How hard is that target audience to reach is really important. Like, where are they? It's because it's one thing for them to be big, but it's like tough to find them, or maybe it's small, but you know exactly where they are. So I would sort of think through that, identifying who they are, where they are, how hard is it going to be to reach them? Another one, are they the kind of people that subscribe to newsletters? Are there other newsletters in this space? How tech savvy are they or aren't they? Are they on social media? Let's say if you were going to run, and we'll talk about this in a second, but if you were going to run social media ads or Facebook ads or whatever, like, are they on there? Are they not on there? Yeah. So all of the, trying to get a sense of how hard this is going to be. And if I hadn't chosen my niche yet, but I had this for whatever reason, this important 10,000 goal, I would want to pick a niche that is not an uphill battle.
Right. Yeah.
So if I need 10,000, I don't want to pick the market that's only has 7,000 people in it, obviously. So that would be sort of my first bit of analysis. The second thing is if I had budget, right? So if I had budget to spend on some paid promotion, again, it would depend on the niche and market, but my first place would be buying ads in other newsletters. I think right now it's like the most cost-effective way. If you can find newsletters that fit your niche and your audience, that is where I would start. Years ago, when I was first launching my newsletter, I ran a bunch of Facebook ads. I think you can still use Facebook ads. That would be secondary for me right now if I could find the right newsletters. The other thing is I've started using the Sparkloop partner program, not their referral thing, but they have a new partner program. Shout out to Louis Nichols if you hear this. I am a huge fan of their partner program. It allows you to essentially almost like an affiliate. It allows you to pay other newsletters who send you subscribers. So you can set whatever payments you want. So you could say, I'll pay $1 or $3 or $5 or whatever you want. And then different newsletters can promote you in their newsletter and get paid for it. So I think, and they only get paid if the people subscribe and stick around. And so to me, it's really new. It's only been out a few weeks. I've been using it on both ends. I've been using it to get paid to drive people to other people's newsletters. And I've been using it to pay other people to drive people to mine. It has been very effective. So I think in order of focus, if I had a budget, would be ads and other newsletters, Sparkloop partner program, if you could find audiences that matched. And then probably Facebook ads would be my third choice because I do think they can still work. But again, it sort of depends on the audience. The next thing I would do is I would definitely create additional content in some form, right? Blog posts, social media. I would probably focus on one social platform. I would not try to go everywhere. And most likely that social platform would be Twitter or LinkedIn, because I think those are more idea-driven platforms. I also think they're more written text. It's not image, video, whatever. And I think if you're trying to get someone to read a newsletter, you want the kind of people that are reading and writing. So that would be my focus. And then also blog or content on my website. Another thing I would do is, again, so much of this depends on the niche, but I would look for ways to do what I call bulk outreach. So for example, let's say I had a newsletter, let's say my niche was like accounting or whatever, right? Can I find some big accounting firm, go to their HR department, say, hey, I have the free newsletter with accounting tips. And can you just email all your people because I think they're going to find this valuable?
Right.
If I get one yes from that person, I might get their 200 employees.
Yeah.
So looking for, and that's an example in the accounting world, but like, let's say it was, I don't know, if I had a newsletter about dating in college, right? Going to fraternities, sororities. It's interesting. There's a story about, I want to say it was Bumble, one of those dating apps. And that's how they started. They just went to the fraternity sorority system, got bulk, because they could get bulk signups. Let's get all your sorority sisters, all your fraternity brothers on an individual campus. And that, I think, and this can apply to anything, but that is a really smart way to grow, where the time and effort you're putting on, as opposed to like where one yes gets you a bunch of subscribers, as opposed to one yes getting you one subscriber. So that would be another thing I would do to try to focus and speed up growth. And then the last thing I think I would do is I'd come up with one piece of content, specific tactic, a tool, a case study, something that was sort of so interesting, unique, useful, helpful, surprising, eye-catching, something that would not only hopefully get noticed within that niche, but that I could use to try to get, even if I didn't have a lot of credentials, that I could use to try to get myself booked on podcasts, interviewed by press, depending what it was, some sort of thing that if I sent it to people that had podcasts in that niche, they go, oh, I want to talk to that guy about this system he has, or this method, or this experiment he did, or something that has to be, it can't be the generic like blog post that a million other, I wrote the ultimate guide to accounting, or you know what I mean? Like it has to be something that someone in your niche would be like, oh, that guy, that'd be an interesting story, right? Something that has a story that I could use to sort of capture additional attention. So some version of that stuff, it wouldn't all work, but hopefully, and I'd also be patient, because no matter what, it's going to take time. But I think that's how I'd approach it. That all makes sense?
It does. So the last thing you're describing, you didn't use the word, words lead magnet, but I feel like you're talking about essentially a lead magnet, but something that's not, a checklist or a cheat sheet or anything like that. It's just like, it's something high value that might be more unique to obviously your niche and out of the ordinary.
Yeah. So I think the other differentiation is I'm not necessarily using it as a lead magnet where people have to give me their email address to get it. I'm using it as bait for me to get in front of other audiences.
Right.
Okay. So my hope is, hey, I made this thing. I did this thing. Whatever. Book me on your podcast and we'll talk about it. And then people will hear and I'll be able to introduce my newsletter. So it's that sort of thing, as opposed to, in general, I'm not a huge fan of lead magnets, because I think you get people that want the lead magnet and don't really care about the newsletter. So, and ideally, like, look, in a perfect world, the more, again, depending on the niche, the stuntier you can get, the better. Yeah. Like if you could, again, I don't know why I just mentioned accounting before, so I'll do this again. But like, if I could come up with some sort of weird, crazy stunt, maybe I invite 10 accountants to a park, and they used to have, this is such a weird idea, but how they used to have those, they'd have those like dance marathons, right? And like whoever like was dancing the longest, would win. So maybe it's like tax season and you bring a bunch of accountants to some place and you do the like accounting marathon, and because local news, right? When you do that and you call up the local news and say, hey, 3 accountants have been doing taxes nonstop for 72 hours and they're about to pass out in the park. You want to send a camera and cover this? And it's, it's a contest brought to you by my accounting newsletter. Like that's very broad, but that kind of thing that can get attention.
It's press ready.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. All right.